What is it about the song Golden that it's still in the Billboard Top 200? It's like number 5 today when I looked. Why is it that this song is still in the charts? Why do we still keep listening to this song? Why do my daughters, even now, like this is the only song they sing? Why is that? So let's find this out by looking at the lyrics of the song Golden. What do they actually achieve? What do they accomplish? This is what we're talking about today. And why should you break down the lyrics with me? Fair question. I have analyzed over 1,000 song lyrics. I'm a StoryGrid certified editor and mentor, and I have specialized in understanding how storytelling works in song lyrics. So without further ado, let's just start. We're going to go through the song lyrics of the song Golden now. And first we're going to build a song foundation to better understand what the song is actually about. Then we're going to go into the storytelling, and then we are also analyzing the different parts of the lyric sections to understand what is their job, what are they actually accomplishing. So let's get started. And the great thing about this song is that everyone's familiar with the lyrics, so let's just start right away. And the first thing we actually do, like when we listen to a song, it's like, what does the song actually make us feel, right? It's all about the emotion first. Does that song make us feel something or does it not? Because if the song doesn't make us feel anything, if there's no emotion or that we don't feel connected to the world of the song, like it doesn't really speak to our heart, then why should we care about it at all? So the first thing we actually have to check, especially when you are a songwriter, does the lyrics make you feel something? If yes, that's awesome, then this song actually got something. If you don't feel anything, then you're probably not really invested in the song at all. And if you don't care, then you don't care about the song. So the first thing where we always want to start is, do you actually feel something when you listen to the song? And of course, when we listen to Golden, it makes us feel empowered. Just like think about the emotion that you feel when you listen to the song. It makes you confident in being yourself. And this is why you like the song, because it gives you a certain feeling. So that's the first thing we want to check. The next thing, which is connected to that feeling, is how's the outcome of it all? Like you listen to the entire song, and you feel a certain way about the song, but then it's also about the question about like, how did it actually all turn out? Do you feel like regarding how the song started and how the song ended, that there's actually like, what changed? You want to know like really what changed. Was there a change? Did something change? Did they stay stuck where they used to be and there was not really a change? So that's the next thing you want to look at. And here it's very clear, like you start with I was a ghost, I was alone, which is already in past tense, so we know something has changed and we are intrigued to find out what changed. So it was like a problem, right? They were talking about a problem in the beginning, and when we go to the ending of the song, then, you know, we're gonna be golden, born to be glowing. So it's like very positive. So there's an uplift to this. So there's a reason why we feel empowered, because this song had a change from a bad place to a better one. Once we have this kind of general understanding about the song, what it makes us feel, how it turns out, we want to know like, okay, who's actually the song's main character? Like with whom are we connecting in the song? And here, because we have like first person right away, then, and that first person is also the one who are facing a problem, this is why we are connecting with that person. Because we are relating to people who have a problem. I always say, if you want the audience to connect with your song, then just start with a problem. Start with a problem that the song's main character is dealing with. And chances are, because we are all human, we have all been at that, we have all faced that problem as well, or some similar problem. But we are familiar to the situation. And when I hear like, I was a ghost, I was alone, I can relate to that. We've all felt like we were a ghost and nobody really saw us for who we are. And we felt alone because of that. So this first line immediately picks me up. So I can relate to that person, to the first person character in the song, because they're struggling with a problem. And that also tells me that, you know, in a story we have a protagonist and we have an antagonist. So, and the protagonist is basically the person with whom you want your audience to connect with. And the best way, as I mentioned, how you can actually do this is through a problem. We are sharing the same problem, so I'm going to connect with that person. So now I know, okay, this is the person who's the song's protagonist. So now we have that force. But then we also wonder, okay, like, is there another person in the song? Someone who the protagonist is up against? And that's usually an antagonist. And antagonist doesn't necessarily mean it's the bad guy. It's just someone who pushes the protagonist to come to a new understanding. And basically, we have those people in here as well, although they are not called out by name. But we know that the first person character, they were called a problem child. So we know this is coming from the outside, from something external. So it's all about their reputation, how they are seen by others. So it's all about status. So if you go to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then the need that this song actually addresses is our need for respect, for recognition. So that's like actually like step 4 on the hierarchy. And this song is all about this. How am I perceived by others? And they were called a problem child. And also now in the next verses here, they call them out by they, right? Because it's all about those other people. They are acting as the force of antagonism. So we know, like, just from this line in the beginning, there is someone who's pushing down the protagonist for who they truly are. They're going to try to fit them into a mold so that they fit to a certain behavior, to a certain way of being. So now we know when we look at characters in the song, then we have the first person character and they are up against another force. Some group of people, they who don't want the protagonist to be the way they are. And now when it comes to storytelling, because we now know there's a change in those lyrics and we also know who the characters are, the biggest question actually is, if you want to determine if you're telling a story in your song, is there must be a crossroad moment for your protagonist. There must be a moment where they have to make a choice. So we don't want to write lyrics where they just go from A to B to C to D, and it's like a progression of things, like a straight line, and you just tell all the events on that line. This doesn't work. That's not a story. A story is always going to a crisis moment, like a crossroad, and they have to make a decision whether they go this way or that way. And you just want to figure out, like, is there a moment like this where the person, the protagonist in the song, do they actually have to make a choice? Is there a meaningful crisis and they have no idea how each option can turn out? This is what you want to look for. Just like have a general feeling. Is there a crisis? And from this song, from Golden, of course there is. Because she's in that trouble of having to fit in, having to be a certain way, even though she's different. So she has to make a choice who she wants to be. And we're going to talk about the crises a little more just in a few moments. But first, let's just move on. Like, this is all the foundation of the song to better understand, okay, does it tell a story? Who are the characters? We just want to map out that foundation first to better understand the song. Once you know there's a crisis, of course you also want to know, like, okay, if this person is going through something, if they are facing a problem, then what caused it all, right? What was the inciting incident, the moment that threw the protagonist's life out of balance, where they felt disturbed, like something came in from the outside and they had to respond to it, and they had to respond to this. So what was that moment? What was the cause of it all? And we are not getting that much backstory of where the character is coming from, but we know that they were called a problem child. And this is probably the perception that they had. This is the thing that threw their life out of balance. When they were a child, they were called a problem child. So what does it do to you? You're going to try to pull back on the person you are or on the person you are becoming. So that means you're going to turn into a ghost and you're going to feel alone because you can't be who you truly are. So this was the inciting moment, the cause that really upset the first person character, the protagonist in the song. So we know there was something that caused it all, that set it all in motion. This is what it's for. There must be a cause, so we know what actually set the story in motion. And if you study lyrics yourself, for example, then you also want to make sure that whatever is the cause is also the thing that was caused by the antagonist. Okay, the antagonist is to blame because they actually want something from the protagonist, and the protagonist will be the person who has to respond to that cause. Okay, so it can never be caused by the protagonist. If you have this, then you have antagonist and protagonist mixed up. But here we can actually see the cause and effect being called a problem child, and this was the effect that it initially had on that person. And why did that cause happen? What did the antagonist want from the protagonist? It was, as we already mentioned, to fit into a certain mold. Because we all know what it's like in life. When you live with your parents, for example, or in a group of friends, they all have a certain perception of who you are, of who you're meant to be, of how you should be. And it's like all that pressure, and inside of you, you feel like, no, there's so much more to me. That's also why the song, like in Vaiana, where she's like standing at the beach and she's looking out to the ocean and she has this feeling inside of her, like I belong out there, but the people here, they tell me that there is not more to my life. But I have that feeling that there is. That's also why that song is, or that entire movie has become so popular. Because it's all about that question of, can you truly become the person you are meant to be? Like, who are you really? This is at the center of that story, and everything in the movie Vaiana actually revolves around that question. Who are those characters? Like Maui is like asking himself, like, who is he truly? Vaiana has to find that out for herself. The crazy old lady in the village, her grandma, she's actually the only one who knows who she is, and she's being called crazy for it. The Tamatoa, the ugly crab with all the shiny things on his back, like he thinks he has to be shiny. He talks about all those fish like they are stupid to like wanting all those shiny things, and he's not even better than them. So like, or like the Tefiti, that, you know, that island one, the woman who lost her heart and then turned into Tekar. Like she also struggled with knowing like who is she. So this entire movie, it all revolves around the question like, who am I? And I'm sorry that I'm talking so much about this, but I have two daughters. One likes K-pop Demon Hunters, and the other one is a huge fan of Vaiana. So it's like, it's gotta mix up together. But just to say, like, when you talk or write a song about who am I, like, I'm being pushed down and I want to be that person, then this is a feeling, a universal feeling that so many people can relate with. And yeah, this is just why it speaks to so many people. This is why they can resonate with this, because they've been there or they are still at this place and they look to your song. Like you pick them up with this line because they can feel it, they connect with it, they resonate with it because they are at that place, and they just feel like, oh my God, there's someone who understands me. They feel understood. And once they do, they listen to the song, right? They are not skipping it. They're going to listen to the song because they want to find out, what did that character in that song do about that situation? This is kind of like the driving question, that how you want to hook your audience in your song's beginning. That's why we have the problem there, because people connect with the problem, right? But then they are also looking for the answer. And that's why they keep listening to the song, because they want to find out, how did that character in the song solve that problem? This is all it is. This is how you can hook someone and keep them engaged, right? They just want to find out what's the answer to that problem. But in order for them to understand it, and you not falling into that place of preaching to them, this is why you have to tell them the story so that they can actually follow along on the journey, how it all changed for the song's main character. And very important, what crises did they actually face where they had to make a really important decision and they didn't know how it would all turn out. There was really something at stake. But again, we're going to get to this in just a moment. First of all, we're still building the song foundation here to better understand the lyrics. So now that we know what the antagonist wants, it's also the next question, what does the protagonist want, right? Because whatever upsets their life, that cause in the beginning, you know, it throws their life out of balance. So what they initially want is just to go back to how things used to be. They want to go back to their status quo, right? People don't like change. They just like, whenever something happens in your life, like for example, when I crashed my car, the first thought that I had was, oh my God, that didn't just happen. Can I just turn back time? Like, right? We just want to go back to how things used to be. And this is also true for the protagonist. Whatever crashes into their life, whatever happens to them, they want to go back to how things used to be. If she was called a problem child, then she wants to go back to the place before, like she was free, right? Before she was ever called a problem child. She just wants to be herself. And this is still what she wants in that song. She wants to be herself. So this is another thing that we as the listener can connect with. She wants to be herself. We want to be ourselves. We don't want to read from a script or be a certain way so that we just fit in, so that people don't criticize us, right? But if you never put yourself out there, then no one will ever see you. So that's the decision that you have to make for yourself. So this is what she wants. She just wants to be herself. But now she can't anymore, or she thinks she can't anymore, because now she's being called a problem child, which led to feeling like a ghost or being alone. And understanding this, seeing that conflict between what the antagonist wants her to be and who she wants to be, right? To be free, to be herself, to be more wild, This is a conflict now. And so you can also see this is building up stakes now, because there are two options. So you see what the antagonist wants and what she wants. That creates conflict. They want her to be a certain way, but she wants to be herself. So that's conflict. And there's also a main threat to this, right? We talked about this human need of status, right? How we are perceived by others, respect, recognition, and all those things. And she can actually lose this, right? This is at stake. The way how people perceive her status, this is at stake. Because if she keeps lashing out against what people want or see as, or how you have to fit in, and if you stick out and people don't want that, then you actually lose that connection. People won't value you anymore. This is what we think will happen, right? If I'm going to act different than normal, or what is perceived as normal, then I'm going to be different. And different means then I'm going to be an outsider. And if I'm an outsider, then they won't look at me anymore. Then they won't care about me anymore. Then I won't belong anymore. Then I'm just going to be a ghost, right? This is what's going to happen. Or they're going to judge you, right? And they're going to criticize you. They're going to harass you. So this is the threat. It's all about how she's perceived by others, her status. This is what's at stake here. So let's talk about the crises. What crossroad moment is she actually coming to? And she has two choices, right? A crossroad is always like a binary choice. You can go this way or you can go that way. But when you are in that crisis, you have no idea where each road actually, where it will take you. You have no idea. All you can do is like predict an outcome, right? This is what we do internally. We are weighing our options. We can go this way or that way, but we don't know what's going to happen. So if we go like looking at her, like if she chooses to fit into the mold, then that means she's not going to stick out. She's just like a member of them, and she's like perceived as one of them, right? You are one of us. This is like the reward. If she chooses that path, she can be one of them. But the possible consequences, or negative consequences of that choice is she can never be herself, right? So it's like there's a reward to it, be one of them, and the possible consequences, I can never be myself. So this is one way. If she chooses to fit in, that's one way. If she chooses to fit in, she's one of them, but she can never be herself. The other path, and you see how that's going to contradict itself, is she decides not to fit in, to really become herself, which is the reward, right? She can become herself. But the possible consequences is that she's going to be an outsider. She's not going to be one of them. So now when she's in that crisis, it's about the question like what's going to be more important to her? What's she going to prioritize? And this is another way how the audience is going to stay engaged in the lyrics, because they want to find out, okay, what's her decision? And how will that decision turn out for her? And the most important part about this, when we talk about the crises and what a protagonist wants, then a protagonist always wants something, but they are also trying to avoid another thing, right? In the beginning, when we have that inciting incident, I'm just going to map it out now here so that you can see this. Like the inciting incident, this is the first moment of a story. There are 5 commandments of storytelling. Like this is like a foundational structure of how a story works, okay? We have an inciting incident. This is the cause that throws the protagonist's life out of balance. Then we are going to get to a turning point, which means this is their last refusal to do what the antagonist wants them to do. Because the inciting incident, remember, it was caused by the antagonist because they want something from the protagonist. Okay, and the turning point is the last refusal of the protagonist to do what the antagonist wants them to do. This is all that is. Okay, that's the second important moment. This is the first one, the cause. And the thing is, once this happens, then the antagonist, they're not going to let go. They're going to keep pushing the protagonist. And because the protagonist is like, this is their last stand, right? Their last fight. This is like the last tactic, the last ace that they have up their sleeve. But then still the antagonist, they still push the protagonist again. Like they keep pushing, and they're going to push them this time because the protagonist doesn't have any option left. They're going to push them into a crisis where they now have to make a choice between what they want and the hidden cost that comes with it. Like it's either or, like it's a binary choice, right? This or that. This is what it comes down to. What are you going to do? This or that? And after that, they have to make a decision. This is all that is, a decision to that crisis. And then we want to find out in the resolution, like, how does it all turn out? That's the question. So this is how a story actually works. Those are the 5 commandments of storytelling. And so let's just look at those in the lyrics so we can better understand them. So we've already talked about that line right here. And the really cool part about those lyrics is that you will see that in a moment, like the entire story is told in the beginning so that the rest of the song can actually focus on making the audience feel empowered. So it's really cool. And just when we look at the next line, but now that's how I'm getting paid, then you already see how it's turning out for her, right? We have the inciting incident here, and right the next line, this is actually the resolution. How did it all turn out for her? So that's another important story moment. Because the audience, the listener wants to know, okay, if I am myself, is this actually a good choice? Should I do this? Or should I rather not be myself? And this is why you also need the story and you need context. You need to give your listener context so they understand in which case is it better to be one of them and in which case is it better to stand out and just be yourself. Because there are certainly scenarios where it's better to be one of them than to stand out, right? And this is what why we have stories, because they let us know in which circumstances, in which situations is it better to choose the one over the other. And this is what you can use stories for. This is the power of stories. You let people experience in which circumstances is it better to do this or that. For example, you might be familiar with the song Devil's Backbone by Civil Wars. And in that song, you have a very God-fearing lady, right? And she has fallen in love with a man on the run. Like you get it right from the song's first 2 lines. You see that she is a very God-fearing lady. Oh Lord, like she's pleading to him. And I have fallen in love with a man on the run. So she has fallen in love with a sinner, right? Don't take that sinner from me. She's fearing for that man's life and fearing for losing what she has found. But there's conflict, right? She's in love with a sinner, but she's also a God-fearing lady. So now we need the story told in the lyrics to understand in which case is it better to choose faith over love, and in which case is it better to choose love over faith, because those 2 values, they are both equally important and you can't actually make a choice between those 2. That's why we have a story that gives us backstory, that gives us context to understand her specific situation, and then we know, oh, in that case it's better to choose love over faith, for example. Or when you look at the song I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, right? We have a person here who someone broke up with and she needed his love. Like this was the only way how she thought she can survive. She was super dependent on that guy. And now the question is, what is more important to you? Is it, again, becoming yourself, right? The person you could be? Or do you want to remain like a chained up little person, but still at least have someone in your life who can take care of you? Like what kind of person do you want to be? You have to choose between love, right? That kind of security to have someone in your life, and becoming independent, but not knowing like if you ever find someone else. It's a really hard choice. Like what's more important to you? That kind of safety or your own independence? What you're going to choose? And again, this is why we listen to the song. This is why we listen to the story, and we are understanding where she's coming from. And then we know, oh my God, like kicking that guy out, that was actually the best choice that she could make, right? So we know in this specific context, if you're kept like a chained up little person and this other person doesn't value you, then of course, that's the best choice, to just let them go. Get rid of them. Throw them out of your life. So it's also about values. When you're in a crisis, it's about like, what do you value more? And for her, in this song, in Golden, right, by K-pop Demon Hunters, it's also about what does she value more? Belonging, right? Being one of them, or her own independence? What does she value more? And here you get the outcome of her choice, right? She made a decision, and this is the outcome of the choice. This is now how I'm getting paid. So it's like something positive. being herself actually helps her to earn money. So, but where are the other commandments, right? When we want to move from the inciting incident to the turning point, then in between there are actually like a series of progressive complications. And before I go on with this, I just want to let you know that if you're interested in storytelling and songwriting, then I have a community for story-first songwriters. And in the community, you can get feedback on your lyrics, you can share your songs, you can ask questions about how storytelling and songwriting works. And I'm also sharing mini lessons with you that you can go through. And you have a community of people who all value the same thing. They want to use storytelling to write great lyrics, and through that also make a difference, because storytelling has power. We can truly make a difference in people's life through the stories we tell in our songs. So if you really want songs, writing song lyrics that emotionally connect with people and give them direction, help them deal with the problems that they're facing in their lives, and you really want your lyrics to mean something, then this is the place to be. And I invite you to be a part of this, to join our community. We are already 176 members, and it's all free. And all you have to do is just follow the link down in the description, and you can join us. So now let's get back to the story. So we have the inciting incident. We know what the turning point is. So we want to find out, okay, what did the protagonist try to do to deal with the inciting incident, right? Because the inciting incident it made them understand that there's like a problem, and it also created a want. Like, just go back to how things used to be. So what actually happened because of this? Because of the inciting incident. And here we get into like progressive complications. Those are like things that nudge the protagonist to understand that there is a hidden aspect to the inciting incident. There's something that they do not yet completely comprehend, completely understand. So this is a progressive complication that follows after the inciting incident. The next thing that upset them was that they didn't know how to believe anymore that they were the queen that they were meant to be. So they had lost faith in themselves. Then the next complication was, they tried to deal with what happened to them. They just thought, okay, then I'm just trying to live true lives, right? I'm trying to be like the person I was meant to be, like be myself. And then on the other hand, I'm trying to fit in. And this line here, this is a really, really important line, because it tells you right away what the real problem is. The real problem that she was facing. Because here we have to go into the real dilemma that someone faces in a story. And in a story, when someone faces a problem, you never want it to be a one-sided problem that has like one answer. So if there's a problem in it and it's like there is like a proven path to how to solve that problem, and it's not really a problem. There's already a solution to it. So what you want to have, so that we can actually get to that crossroad moment, is you really want to have a dilemma where the people or the song's main character, they're dealing with a double factor problem. This means that there's a problem with two competing values, like what we talked about, love and faith, or safety versus independence. There are two competing values, and we need the context of the story to understand in which situation is it better to choose one value over the other. And here you see she's actually facing a double factor problem, because this is now like an A without B formula. This is how we call it in storytelling. There's an A without B formula, and that means the protagonist wants A without having to do B. In her case, in this song, you might know this one already. The protagonist wants to be herself without being called a problem child. So this is what it comes down to for her. That's the true dilemma that she's in. And we have those progressive complications. So let's just go back to the beginning. So this is what it all comes down to. And then when we look at the beginning, she's being called a problem child. This is the cause of it all, right? And so now she thinks, okay, if I am called a problem child for being who I am, then this means I either have to hide who I am and just be myself in certain other scenarios, right? I just have to like deal with this somehow. And she's trying to deal with this because in the beginning, she doesn't realize that there's like a hidden cost to what she wants. So she wants to be herself. So initially, she thinks she can be herself and still be a part of them, be one of them. So what is she actually doing? She's trying to live two lives. She's trying to play both sides. This is really like her initial tactic. But this one fails because this doesn't work out. And we see that it doesn't turn out because this one down here, this is another progressive complication because it tells her, the tactic that I chose to deal with that inciting incident, it's not working for me. And every time the protagonist tries something to deal with that inciting incident, while still trying to hold on to that belief, like wanting to be herself without having to, like as long as they hold on to that, believing that this is actually possible to get what they want without having to pay a price for it, as long as they do this, they're going to find different tactics, different ways how they can achieve this. But she didn't. I couldn't find my own place. And when we go to the second verse, like after we've heard the chorus for the first time, we also get a sense of time here. Like, for how long has she actually been trying to play both sides? So this is another progressive complication, just how much time has actually passed. So those progressive complications, they just let her know that whatever she was trying to do, it's not working out. You can't live two lives. So by going through this, she's actually coming to a turning point. And the turning point is really, as we mentioned, it's that last refusal of the protagonist to do what the antagonist wants them to do. So the antagonist wanted them to fit into the mold, and this is now their last refusal because she kept holding on to being herself. She was trying to hide it. Right? We get this in this line, I'm done hiding. This was another like tactic of her, what she was doing to deal with that inciting incident. And when she says this, I'm done hiding, then we can also see this now as a turning point. This is her last refusal. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done. So this is actually then one of our 5 commandments of storytelling. We are getting to a turning point. And again, after a turning point, the antagonists, they're not letting go. They're going to push back. So they're going to throw the protagonist into a crisis where they have to make a choice between this or that. What's more important to you? So, and now she actually understands through that final push by the antagonist that this right here, without being called a problem child, it doesn't work like this. It's either, so let's talk about the crises, because this is where it's really getting interesting. And I'm going to put the crises here in between because it's actually just implied. We don't really get to see like how she's weighing her options, and we don't need this, right? Whenever you write a story, you don't need to write, oh, this was this option and this was that option, because it's already implied in the context what's really at stake. So when it comes to the crises, then the basic formula of how a crisis actually works is just, it refers to this one right here, right? This was the main dilemma that she's in, right? The protagonist wants to be herself without being called a problem child, which means she wants to be herself. This is A, without being called problem child. This is B in our A without B formula. So the crisis actually is get A, but have to pay the price of B, or because it's this or that option, right? Or not get A to avoid paying the cost of B. This is it. This is what a crisis looks like. And so for her in particular is, if she wants to be herself, then she has to be called a problem child. Then she has to embrace the critics, the people who are going to judge her, the people who constantly will want to push her back into a mold, trying to silence her, right? Her status is on the line. She doesn't know what's going to happen if she chooses to be herself, right? We are still in that moment where she doesn't know that she's going to get paid. We are in that moment where she doesn't know that. They don't know how it's going to turn out. They can only make an outcome prediction. It's like Just imagine, it's like your own life. Whenever you have to face a crisis, you have no idea what's going to happen, right? So we are like internally, we are weighing our options. We are thinking in what if scenarios. Like, if I choose this, what could possibly happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could happen? And this is the same what the protagonist is going through. And they have no idea what's actually going to happen. Might be even something completely else, something that they didn't expect. So we never know. But in a story that you tell in your lyrics, the audience gets to see what the outcome could. The audience gets to see what the outcome can be. And they also see how you set it up, what the stakes are. And you also see, like, it doesn't require a lot of lines. Like, we are mainly talking about like the first 2 verses here, right? And we get so much information about the story. And this is also why the song Golden is so compelling, because we get the story and we resonate with the story. It's all there in the beginning. We have the different tactics. We know what caused it all. We know what the protagonist wants. We know what the antagonist wants. We have so much context. And it doesn't require so many lines. And we know what's at stake. So now we also understand, okay, what's the crisis? What's her dilemma that she's facing? So, will she be herself? But then she will be called a problem child. So she will be continued to be criticized? Or does she not get A? Like, she lets go of what she wants so she can avoid paying the cost of B. So she's not going to be criticized anymore. What does she want? What's more important to her? Fitting in or being herself? That's the choice that she has to make. And you see, it's an important choice. It's very, very important. So a character in a song should not just make an internal decision like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to do this. Or like, yeah, I'm deciding now, I'm just going to eat healthy. And now then you see me here and I have like my box of cookies. And you see, like, I've already eaten so many cookies. So, you know, if I say I'm just going to eat healthy today and I have like this box of cookies standing next to me, then you're not going to believe me. You're not going to believe me. You're going to believe me if I take that box and I throw that away and I'm going to throw it out of the window over there. So no more cookies here. Then you might believe me that I'm actually making that choice that I'm not going to eat those cookies anymore. Where are my cookies? Oh, there they are. So, all good. I'm going to continue eating cookies because this is not the decision that I'm going to make now. But when you have a character in your song and they're facing a crisis, then the decision that they make, you have to externalize it. This means they have to put it in action, either by something that they do, right? That you literally can see them doing. So this means something like, go on now, walk out the door, just turn around now because you're not welcome anymore. This is a choice. This is dialogue. She's throwing that guy out. So she is, the decision that she made, she's putting it into action, right? And this is what you want in your song as well. If the character makes a choice, you want to show what their choice actually is. It should not just stay internal or something that they probably do in the future sometimes, right? So it has to be, and you have to show it in your lyrics. You have to include it. You should not skip it. We need to see what is their choice. What are they deciding to do? So when we continue reading the lyrics, so we've got all the context here, and we also already know how it all turns out, then we're getting to the turning point here in the pre-chorus. This is like another resolution. Now I'm shining. Like all of this, like I'm born to be. We're dreaming hard, we came so far, now I believe. This is all the resolution. All of this is the resolution. All of this is the resolution. And now the next verse, we had another progressive complication. Here, as we mentioned, this is all like the time that it took to actually come to that place of understanding. It's A without B, it's either or. And to wake up and feel like me, put these patterns all in the past now and finally live the girl they all see. So she's going to become the problem child. This is her decision, right? This is her climax. Climax is like, this is the decision that I'm making. So she's deciding to live the way how she is, to be herself, to be the problem child, to be criticized, whatever. I'm just going to be me. So you see, we have the climax also in the lyrics. And now, of course, every decision that you make, it will have consequences. There might be a potential reward, and there might be possible consequences. And we're going to stick around. We want to find out, like, okay, what's going to happen next? Like, how does it all turn out for the protagonist? And this is why we have the resolution. And as I already mentioned, most of the song, it's all about the resolution. Like, all of this is the resolution. This is the resolution. I'm done hiding, I'm shining. Like, this is like repetition of what we've had before. Like, it's our time now, no fears, no lies anymore. Like, this is also like part of her past. Right, this year, progressive complications. She was fearing, she was living in lies. So this made it all bad. Now they're who they were born to be. Resolution, 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 resolution. This is all the resolution. It's just about like feeling empowered now. And you know, when it comes to writing a chorus, so if you want to write a chorus and it is for a song with a prescriptive message, this means you tell someone a story how they can solve their problem. So you're going to give them a go signal. Hey, this turned out well for the protagonist in the song. It can also turn out well for you. If you're facing this problem, then you can do this and it can turn out bad. And it can turn out good for you. So you're building a bridge for them, right? And the way how you can, in those kind of songs, when you tell stories that are meant to empower, that are meant to give someone a prescriptive message of what they can do in their life as well when they're facing a problem, then what you can do, how you can write a chorus, and I actually have a video on this here on YouTube, then you can also just focus on those things. And they're like a spectrum of empowerment, you know, we can put things on a spectrum from like very light to like the complete biggest thing there is. And you can either give people in your chorus a new hope, you can give them a better feeling, you can give them an action that they can take. For example, like in Miley Cyrus's song Flowers, I can buy myself flowers, right? You give them an action that they can do to solve their problem. Or you can give them a new belief, or you can even give them a new identity, like I am titanium, right? And this is what they do in the song by K-pop Demon Hunters as well. So when we look at the chorus now, we're going up, 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 it's our moment, you know, together we're glowing. Gonna be golden. Up, up, up with our voices. Gonna be golden. So this is all about a feeling, right? We are glowing. We're gonna be golden. So this is all about feeling that they're giving to the audience, a new feeling. Because when you have felt like a ghost, feeling alone, and you had all those fears and the lies, then now this line, it summarizes it all pretty well. From going from hiding into shining. Like, this is a new feeling. And this is what we are giving the audience here. So you see, even if it's not like giving them like the top of it all, like a new identity or a new belief, it's about feeling. And this feeling is so compelling that, yeah, even my daughter keeps singing it and singing it and singing it all the time. So this is a really cool thing, that when you tell a song that has a prescriptive message and you really focus on the chorus, make it empowering, and then you tell the story to support it, to support that feeling, that we can actually get to that place of feeling that feeling because we have been through the story. We saw how hard it is for the protagonist, but then we see how it all turns out, right? So we have the resolution in the chorus. This is really important to make a note of. Like, in a song that has a prescriptive tale, you don't want to focus on the problem here at this stage. You want to focus on what comes out of it. So it's either a climax, which I can buy myself flowers, like there's an action that I can take and it will get me to a better place, or you focus on how it all turns out. So all of this is a resolution. So now we have gone through those 5 commandments of storytelling. You now see how the story comes together, from the inciting incident of being called a problem child, to all those progressive complications, how they were trying to live 2 lives. And then they actually had to make a crisis, whether they want to be herself and be called a problem child, or to not be herself so they won't be called a problem child. What's it gonna be? And then we had the climax right here. They're putting it now into action. I have made my choice. I'm not gonna hide anymore, right? Now I'm done hiding. And the resolution is, now I'm shining. We're glowing, we're golden. And now that's how I'm getting paid on stage. So this is all the resolution. And you see, like, this is like, there's a story told in those lyrics. And that's amazing. And it's giving the audience a great feeling. And if you wanted to write a song like Golden, then you can even find out more about the lyrics. So let's just do this. Like, what else is in the lyrics that we can actually figure out now that we completely understand how they tell a story, what the change looks like, what the crisis looks like, who the characters are, how it all turns out. So what else can we learn from the lyrics? So let's just I'm just gonna add some notes now here, and I'm gonna add them in yellow so that you see the purpose or the job, what else each line can actually accomplish. So I was a ghost, I was alone. This is also giving us like the status quo of the protagonist. Let's just take that away. And it indicates at the problem that they faced. We also know, as we mentioned, it's a relatable. The audience connects with that problem and feeling. It's the same as with the song I'm Just Ken by Ryan Gosling from the Barbie movie. Doesn't seem to matter what I do, I'm always number two. Like, again, this is like a universal feeling. We all know what that's like, to never be the best, to always be the second best, never good enough, right? This song is all about not being good enough for who you are, for the thing that you want. And he's actually giving up the thing that he wants so that he can be himself. So it's like the other way around. He's giving up on wanting to be with Barbie, but so he can embrace himself, like his Kenergy, and like he's choosing himself. And this is also a very important message, to understand, hey, you are good enough the way you are. And if you look at the success of this song, it's also very compelling to people because it's about a universal problem, but it's making it super specific so we can actually understand and connect with that person. If you would write a song that it's just very universal, and you're trying to be very generic in your verses and in your chorus and everywhere because you're trying to pick up everyone, then your song is not going to resonate with anyone. People like specificity. Specificity leads to universality. So this is my take on it. This is why we need story, we need context. We need this foundational structure. And above all of it, we need the emotion. We actually need to know what that place that we are describing, that problem, what it actually feels like. So our audience doesn't just feel understood, but they also see that there is someone who knows what that problem actually feels like through the way how they put emotion into their wording. But this is like another thing that we can actually look at how the lyrics achieve this. But first of all, let's look at like the different sections and what they accomplish. So I was a ghost, I was alone. So it's the status quo, how it all started. We have a problem, and that problem is relatable, and the audience connects with that problem and feeling. And we also know we have already established the protagonist, we have established the point of view, it's first person. So it's already this first line, it's giving us a problem and a protagonist. And later on, when we look at the story, we also know it's serving as progressive complication. That's amazing what this first line can do. And I don't know what this means, so I'm going to skip that. But one more important thing, because this is the first line of this song. You also want your first line to be a hook. So you don't want to start with something boring, like the setting, for example, because this is not going to hook someone. In today's age, we need to grab our audience's attention right away, and we have to do this with our song's first line. And I have already written a book about this, how you can actually achieve this. It's called A Song's First Line. And if you become a member of my community of Story First Songwriters, right, this one here, if you become a part of it, then you can get a free copy of that book. You get a free PDF version of it. And there are 9 opening line devices that you can use to create a hook. Like you can start with a powerful problem, a shocking statement, an intriguing question, the inciting incident, a compelling story, like this is the story of, surprising contradiction, mighty desire, severe stakes, or the crises. So those are 9 ways, and this book, it actually comes with 250 opening line examples, and also like how-to descriptions on how you can pull this off. But if you're interested in this, also here on the YouTube channel, I've already made a video on this, so it's like linked down below in the description as well as the link to the community where you can get that book. So just so you know that there are ways how we can hook our audience to really grab their attention. And like I was a ghost, I was alone. It does, because it's a powerful problem that what we are facing, right? we have it here, powerful problem. This is like what it's giving us. But it's also setting up that a change, right? It's making us curious because that change, it was written in past tense. I was a ghost. So this is like the past tense for something negative. So now we are curious to find out if this has been in the past, then now things have changed. So if there used to be a ghost, then now we assume things are better. And we want to know, like, how did things change, get better? Again, this is like what the first line is already doing. And you see, like, it's amazing if you focus on those things. It's like we have the hook, the problem, the POV, and the protagonist. And it also indicates change just through the tense. So this is like what the job of the first line. That's what it's all doing. Now the next thing, let me just copy something here to take it with me. Given the throne, I didn't know how to believe I was the queen that I'm meant to be. So this is also like still talking about the problem, about what the protagonist wants, about something that happened to them. So it's like we have that progressive complication. We have that struggle of like, this is like belief now, right? It goes into someone's mindset. So we know that this person, when you talk about belief, it's about their worldview. Because, for example, in that song, the character goes through an internal transformation. So here in that line, I didn't know how to believe. I wish I could underline it in yellow, but it's like I didn't know how to believe. This shows us her worldview. And it was in a stage of, being kind of helpless, not knowing that there is another way, right? Because she didn't understand that this was actually the crisis, like that those two things don't work together. Like you can't have the cake and eat it too. This is the kind of thing, and she didn't know like how to deal with this. So her worldview, it was at a place where it was like probably at a place of cognitive dissonance. She just had no idea what she's gonna do. So this gives us like the status quo of like her worldview. That line right there. There are also songs where we don't have that internal transformation of the character. For example, like in the Grundy County Auction Incident by John Michael Montgomery. It's just like about this dude who's going to an auction and he sees a woman there and he's like standing up and he's shouting across the crowd and say like, hey, I'm gonna make a bet on you. Like this is what he's doing. There's no internal transformation in that song. So we need the resolution also to find out, okay, in that context, if you're ever in a situation like this, is this really something that you should do? Just stand up and make a bet on a woman? But it turns out really well for him. So it's fun, but there's not an internal transformation in that song. But in other songs like I Will Survive, for example, we also have that internal transformation, right? From that chained up little person to becoming someone who can survive. And we know she can survive because she threw that guy out. So we know she's like self-reliant now. And here we also see like how her initial worldview used to be. So that line is also giving us this additional information. So all of this is like, again, progressive complication. This is really pointing at the tactic, like the main tactic that they tried to play for so long, right? But it didn't work out. So it's the tactic that is doomed to fail. So those are all my notes, but I couldn't find my own place. So again, this is like why that tactic failed, right? So it's like failed tactic. So then we had to call the problem child. So this is also setting up the antagonist and antagonist's want. And because I got too wild, it's also like through which the protagonist poked the antagonist, like to make the antagonist want them to fit into the mold because they're just getting too wild, too hard to tame, right? Like a Mustang, like the horse, you know, not the car, probably the car too if you're driving too fast and you can't control the car. So this is basically it. So they just got too wild. So it was also like how the protagonist impacted the antagonist. But that's now how I'm getting paid on stage. So we see the resolution. So this is just the outcome. Another way for saying this is the outcome. Those are all my notes about the crises because it's implied. The stakes, oh yeah, the stakes are actually in here as well. So we can actually say like the stakes, we have that as well, given the throne. This is something that is at stake. If you're not being who you truly are, how can you take the throne? And the other stake is of course called a problem child. So they want to fit in. So it's like implied, you know. If you have something that is negative, then we can assume they want the opposite, right? They don't want to be called a problem child. So sometimes it's about the things that you say someone wants or you say that they don't want, then that can truly map out what's at stake. Now the next part, let's go. I'm done hiding. So they're refusing. I'm not going to do that anymore. Now I'm shining like I'm born to be. We're dreaming hard. We came so far. Now I believe. Now I believe. Like this is really that line that tells you like the world. Oops. That the worldview has changed. So that's really important to see. Like they come from a place of I didn't know how to believe, but now they believe. So they're picking up on that line again to just show it to us that they are not at that place of cognitive dissonance anymore, but they're embracing the change now. They have come to a better understanding of the world. So it's like probably what we can add here. And the better understanding of the world is to understand that whatever you want in life, there is a hidden cost to it. For a long while, it might remain as a hidden cost. And at one point, you will understand what the price is that you have to pay. And then you can make an informed choice, right? You're not going to misunderstand the inciting incident that caused it all. You're not going to be at that place anymore where you don't know, like, what does it all mean? Like, they don't want me to be a problem child, but I want to be wild. So I guess I just have to live two lives, right? So you're going to get to that place where you understand, oh my God, the thing that I want, it actually comes with a hidden cost. And at one point you will understand what that hidden cost is. And she does. That's why, for example, in cautionary tales, the protagonists, they never understand that there's a hidden cost to what they want. So they're just going to double down on what they want, and then they're getting punished for it because they made a misinformed decision, right? Because they never understood the price they had to pay. So, but we have that here now, that worldview change in the line, now I believe. And again, those two lines, no fears, no lies. This is also like, it's the outcome. Yes, it is. Like they are better off now. So it shows the audience, oh my God, like they don't suffer from those things anymore. So it's truly turned out well for them. So we have the outcome, but it's also referring back to the problem. This is just like it's serving as a reminder. So the audience is being kept reminded of things that they don't want anymore. So it's better to stop hiding and shining. It's like this. Now the song is nudging or provoking the listener to understand, hey, you don't want to hide anymore. You want to shine. So you don't want to live in fear. You don't want to live a lie. So just be yourself. Because this is another way how you can actually see the crises that the person is in. Right? The protagonist wants to be herself, which is actually the truth, right? To just be who you are, to live the truth without being called a problem child. But they have to make that decision now. If they want the truth, then they have to suffer the consequences. But if it's more important for them to be one of them, to fit in, then that actually means that they're gonna have to live a lie. So in a situation like this, you understand, like this is a double factor problem. In which context is it better to live the truth, and in which context is it better to live a lie, right? This is like on a higher level what it actually comes down to. So okay, where were we? Here. That's who we are born to be. So this is just like a powerful reminder. And you also can see, like when we talked about what a chorus can be, like right this here. This is who we're born to be. this is giving them also a new identity. So you have that little empowering line here as well, which is about a new identity, which is not really new, but it's like you can be yourself. You don't have to hide anymore. So it's like kind of new. You should just be yourself, right? And this also like, oh, our time is now. It's like also another push to just realize, make the decision now, right? It's like this nudge, this urgency that comes with it. Okay, this is just like repetition, then repetition. Yeah. Repetition. Just keep singing. And as Michael Jackson said, like, you want your chorus, especially like when you tell a prescriptive tale that is meant to empower someone, especially with your chorus, then you don't want to change the lines in your chorus. You want the people to sing along to your chorus. So don't change the lines. You want to have them sing along to it, and again and again and again. And then, like Michael Jackson said, it's like a mantra. The more they say something to themselves, then at one point they're going to start believing it. That's why you want to have a chorus, an empowering chorus, to be the same lines over and over again, so they can keep saying the same lines over and over again. And that's why you also want, when they say those lines, to be it something positive, so that they can actually start believing in what you want them to believe. And so, do I think it's bad that my daughter keeps singing this song? Of course not. I love it. Because it's a meaningful message that this song actually communicates through the story it tells. It lets her know that it's okay to be herself. So, and now lastly, we can also look at the emotional valence of the words, which actually means like you're trying to map your own emotion when you're writing a song. You're trying to map your emotion, what you're feeling. You're trying to map it onto the page, and there's actually like a 4-step process to this. So if because like this is the thing, of course, you want your audience to feel something, but that also means when you write the song as the songwriter, then you have to put your own emotion onto the page. So whatever the problem is that you're writing about in the song, right, there needs to be a problem. But this also, even if it's not like your exact situation that you've been through, but there's probably something similar, whether it is about shame, whether it is about fear, whether it is about trust. There's probably something where you have been in a situation like this and you dealt with that emotion. So first of all, you want to think about, what is the emotion when you have that certain problem in the song? What's the emotion that you want your listener to feel? That's the first step. Then the second step is you remember a situation in your own life where you felt that emotion. Once you do, then you embody that emotion. You go back into that situation to understand, like, oh my God, when I was at that place, this is how I felt. And you're going to use that emotion then, and then you're going to write the lyrics, because then that emotion will impact your choice of words, the figurative phrases that you're going to use, like the literary devices, like metaphors or similes that you're going to use. So it's going to have an impact. So when we look at the song Golden here, then words that really stick out to bring across the emotion of what the character went through, it's ghost, right? So this is one word. Alone, it's not showing yet, right? This is all telling us. That's another thing, like if you don't want your audience to feel a certain way in your song, then you just tell that feeling, you just name it, you label it, but you're not going to show that feeling. Like, for example, when I was like heartbroken, then you don't show it like my heart was drowning in its own tears. Like, you're not going to say something like this to evoke that feeling. You don't want to evoke that feeling if you want to really empower someone. This is also why in the song by Gloria Gaynor, like, at first I was afraid, I was petrified. They do not allow the listener to feel this. They're just telling you what they felt because they don't want the listener to feel that way. That's not the purpose of the song. The purpose of the song is to empower someone. And they do that by showing the thing that's really important, and showing is her decision. Yes, we understand the backstory, right? We're going to be picked up by this intense emotion of like knowing, like, I thought I could never live without you by my side. And we get how pissed she is, right? I should have changed that stupid log. Said you came back to bother me. Like, those are all strong word choices, so we understand her current emotion, like what's really going on as this guy shows up in her apartment. So that's the emotion that they are trying to get across. And then this is also the emotion that pushes her to give her the strength to throw that guy out. And then feel victorious about this. Like, I will survive. This is the emotion that the songwriter really wanted the listener to feel. This is why they are only telling us, labeling the emotion in the beginning. Because they don't want to feel us. Because they don't want us to feel afraid or petrified. So the same is done here. I was a ghost, I was alone. It's just labeling it. It's just naming it. But it's still a powerful word that gives us an understanding of what's going on. It gives us that understanding of what the true problem is. Then we have throne and queen. This is like telling us that desire of who they want to be, what they want to have. Playing both sides. This is like, as well as living to life. Those are figurative phrases that we can understand. And then especially like when we look to the pre-chorus and chorus, then we have word choices, or the verb, for example, shining here. We have glowing. We are compared to being golden. This is an action, up with our voices. Just be wild, you know. This is another figure of speech, break down these walls. And they're even giving themselves, like, I didn't mention this before, but they're giving themselves a new identity here. But this is done in the pre-chorus, because the pre-chorus keeps changing. But here, this is also giving them a new identity with hunters. Their voices are strong now. They're like really like they're pushing their voice, going up, up, up with our voices, and their voices are strong now. They are not breaking. So whoever knows how to sing, like, you know, like when you're trying to hit the high notes, your voice might break, but their voices are strong. So strong is it's a descriptor that tells us something about the noun. So we are also getting a better understanding of what their voices actually are like now. So this is how they put emotion into their writing. But if you want emotion in your writing, then you're not going to map it out first. You're going to focus on the story first. That's why we are also called Story First Songwriters on School, like our community that you can join for free. Because the story comes first. We need that fundamental structure of how a story works, because this is going to take the audience on a journey. This is going to achieve how we can actually how we can hook them and how we can keep them engaged through the stories that we tell. But if we want that story to truly resonate with them, to really make a difference on them, or whatever they're going through, then we have to put emotion onto that story. And then we are talking about how we can put emotion into the words. So it's like, if you want to play a solo, right? If you want to learn how to play a solo, a really great solo, then the first thing you do is you are practicing the scales, right? You need that foundation so that one day you can play the amazing solo. And that's the same with storytelling here and songwriting. If we really want to make an emotional impact on someone, then the scales are our 5 commandments of storytelling, learning how a story works. And then once we know that foundational structure, then we can go and play our solo by also putting the emotion into the story. So this is how it's coming together. And you see, like, you don't even need that much of like full emotional blast in your lyrics. You don't need that. It's like, it's more like you sprinkle in that emotion to really bring across what you want. And you also see it's not about that, you know, that common advice of show, don't tell, where they always say like telling is bad. When you actually look at songs, and I've noticed this more and more lately, that there's like so much telling in songs, but then you have to know which parts you're actually going to show to really make an impact on the audience. What's the most important part that the audience has to see, that you really have to show to also get that emotion across? And again, this is connected with the story we tell. For example, in the climax, what is the decision that they make? What are they going to put in action? So yeah, there's a lot about how storytelling works in songs, but it's also like when you think about it, it's not that much. You just have to know how it works, how each commandment leads into the next, what their job is, how they are connected with each other. That's another important part that we have to consider. And again, if you want to know more about storytelling and songwriting, then please come and join our community on School called Story First Songwriters. The link is in the description below. And when you go to the class, we also have a free training on storytelling and songwriting here for you. And members have said, like, I can't believe that you are giving this all away for free. Like, just if we go into foundations, like you see, like there are my videos right here, like so many videos. And this, like those global concepts, they're going to give you such a great start to understand the power of story and lyrics and how they work. So this is all for you. It's free for the taking. It's all there mapped out for you. And you also have the community space where you can post questions, ask for feedback, share your songs. Also have calls where you can meet the other members or you can ask me questions. So this is all here for you. And all you have to do is just follow the link in the description below and you're getting to that page. Then all you have to do is click this button, join group, and answer 3 little questions, and then you can be a part of our community.